Somehow you still believe Christianity is above all other religions and spiritual systems. And yet your ancestors, I'm talking to the black people and indigenous people out there, your ancestors had well advanced spiritual systems before they even knew of a Jesus. It's 2024 and you still believe the narrative that Christianity is the ultimate all-time best religion in the world, and it's merely not even 2,000 years old. They could not keep their names, they could not keep their culture, they could not keep their language, they could not keep their mother tongue, and yet they gave them Jesus. You never even asked the question, what did your ancestors practice before Christianity? Because Jesus is your Lord and Savior, and that has nothing to do with you, right? Some of y'all still believe in the narrative that if it wasn't for Christianity and if it wasn't for slavery, you would be out here worshiping a tree.
I thank God for slavery. If it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree.
It's kind of funny, I'm making this video as my gym is right next to a community church, and I'm seeing all these church folk walking up and down and going to church. But the show must go on, okay? In this video, we are going to be discussing the matters of this comment that I have received from one of my videos that it didn't really go viral, but I had somewhere around like 40,000, 50,000 views on this reel. And this reel showcased a Hispanic man who was talking about you people, I know, basically saying you people, if it wasn't for Christianity, you would have never been taught how to be civil and how to manage yourself and all these different things that, you know, we were savages and we were just everything. All right, you know the narrative. You see the comment. Basically saying like it was Christianity that taught African people, African descent people, how to be human, how to be civil, how to be normal. And it's so ironic when you deal with the Portuguese and the atrocities that they have committed against indigenous people throughout many different lands. The Portuguese and the Spaniards, when you really study the narratives of what they did in the Americas, what they did in aspects of Mexico and in the Caribbeans, like these people were savages. And the nerve to accuse the indigenous people of those lands to be savages and to be pagan and to be evil and animalistic because of their culture is beyond me, when you nearly wipe these people out with your own diseases because of lack of hygiene, because of lack of health and taking care of your own self. You had the nerve to demonize their gods. You had the nerve to demonize their reality and their religion. And the same thing applies to my African descent people. I mean, you should really look into the narratives of how they deemed African descent people. Deeming them as savages, just people who swung from vines and lived in mud holes, all these different things that they wanted to correlate to African descent people. If you can even look at the minstrel, you know, cartoons that they would make back in the early 1900s. Like, they hated black people so bad. They created a genre of music to talk about how much they did not like black people. Like, songs after songs, they have multiple songs, hundreds of songs, these minstrel songs, these coon minstrel songs, you know, and people would go to shows and see all these white people in blackface dancing and they singing these songs. It was to such a point that they even had this one popular song. This was a popular song in America called "Every Race Has a Flag But the Coon." I mean, I don't really have to go. I mean, this is just on surface level. We don't even have to get into what they did to Black Wall Street and to many other different black cities that were profiting and you know, developing and prospering. And they had to find some way to sabotage their own and, you know, their own development. They had to find some type of way because they just could not see, they could not fathom seeing black people that they deemed to be 3/5 of a human doing better than them. And so you have people like this who still think this way. You have, the average Christian, oh, but that's ignorant. That's nobody truly believes that. Like, he's not truly a Christian. It's easy for you to say that, because even if he was open enough to say this, you still think it. Because why? Because you cannot accept the fact that people of a different culture, of a different land, had advanced spiritual systems before you did. You can't accept the fact that your ancestors had spiritual advanced systems for thousands of years before they even knew of a concept of Christianity, before they knew even of a concept of Jesus. You can't even accept it, much less ponder on it, much less even think about it. You can't even accept it. So by default, you already deem those spiritual systems as being inferior. Oh no, Tara, I have respect for all religions. Really? So then you come on my page, and you bring your black ass on my page and tell me that I need to give my life to Christ. I need to repent. When I'm giving homage to my ancestors through my own traditions and through my own way of life. You know how many black people dislike voodoo? I mean, really go to the average black Christian and talk to them about voodoo and see how spooked out they get. Think about it. I mean, really, have this conversation with mama, with your auntie, with your grandma, with your brother, with somebody in your family that you know is a fervent Christian. Go to a black church and talk about voodoo. See how spooked out they get. Wow, it's so ironic that their traditions within the black church, the average black church, most likely Methodist or Pentecostal or Baptist, I should say, and you'll see similarities in their culture and traditions in the church to what you see in voodoo. That's another topic for another day. But the concept of voodoo, they deem it to be satanic. They deem it to be demonic. And that is exactly what Christianity has done to black people. They have deemed them, they have programmed them to see their own culture as being evil, which is in reflection to how they see themselves. You know how many black kids today will still choose the white doll over the black doll? Today, in 2024, we're not talking about 1924, 1824. We're talking about right now. There are black kids that will still choose the white doll over the black doll because the white doll is pretty. The white doll is intelligent. The white doll is all these different things, while the black doll is ignorant. The black doll is most likely to be ugly. The black doll is most likely to be bad. This is how they see themselves due to reality, due to their society, but most importantly, due to religion. Why religion? Because you go to church every day giving your life to a white Jesus. Oh, but he could be black, he could be purple. He's really black, Tyron, if you think about it. But every time that you hear the word Jesus, you don't think of a black man. You want to know how I know that? Because I can accept the fact about the whole concept of the black Madonna and the black Christ. But when I hear the word Jesus, the first concept, the first thing that I see, the first thing that pops up in my mind is a white man. The first thing that I see, what pops up in my head is Serapis. So they have programmed us for years, for decades, for so long with identifying the word and the term Jesus to a white man. You can see Jesus in jerry curls, you can see Jesus with the locks and everything, but you're going to be programmed to see more of the white Jesus than you are with the black Jesus. And whether he's black or white, it don't really make a difference. He's not real. That's going to trigger some of y'all too, but it is what it is. But getting back on the basis of this narrative, we have been taught this narrative about, other people's traditions and other people's religions to such a point, like Christians don't have an issue demonizing other people's cultures out of ignorance. They don't have an issue seeing Kali and being like, oh, that's a devil. They don't have an issue ignorantly going out here saying that other religions were created by fallen angels, or the other religions are the pantheons and creations of worshiping fallen angels. I mean, they will come up with anything and everything to demonize other people's perceptions of life. Just really be aware. Every time that you see the acts of Christians demonizing and talking bad on other people's cultures and other people's practices, that is contributing to the same narrative of this Hispanic man talking about how we were savages. We were animalistic. We didn't know any better. We were ignorant. And it took Christians, it took Europeans to civilize us. It took Europeans to, give us a standard of life. But this is what a lot of us believe. There's even a black woman who was in a pulpit. I don't know how old the video was, but she's telling the congregation, and they're agreeing with her, that if it was not for slavery, we would be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree. This is what black people who are Christians believe today. This is what most Christians believe today. All this missionary work they do in different places. And I remember when I was in the church, they used to boast about how they would be, saving voodoo priests. Converting voodoo priests from their ways of voodoo and their practices from their ancestors. You know how many black people demonize ancestral worship? Don't even understand what the hell that is, because even in the Bible, they give homage and contributions to their ancestors. Why do you think they keep calling the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob the God of the Israelites, the God of their forefathers? There's so many different references in the Bible of talking about the God of their forefathers, the God of the Abraham, Isaac, and that is giving homage to their ancestors. Here you are, the stupid Negro. You can't even honor your own ancestors with your own traditions. No, they didn't know any better, or the devil was deceiving them. You'll come up with anything to just go away from a knowledge of self. That's what it is. And it's so disheartening. It's sad that you see stuff like this. And that's exactly what that narrative is contributing to, is the inferiority of your own black self. And to end this off, right, there were many different rebellions throughout many different lands, in the Americas and also in Africa. But one in particular that I do like concerning the basis of this whole conversation is in Puerto Rico, I believe. There was a whole number of different rebellions, but there was one that was led by this man named Chief Hatui. And Chief Hatui, unfortunately, did not succeed with his rebellion. But what had happened was he was about to be burned to a stake. And before he was burned to a stake, the priest had asked him, if you are to give your life to Christ today, you're going to be in heaven. But if you don't, you're going to burn in hell. Chief Hatui told the priest, if people like you are in heaven, I'd rather burn in hell.